Welcome back, folks. Today, we're diving deep into a policy that's been making waves in 2025, Trump's aggressive mass removal strategy.
I know, it's kind of jaw-dropping. This isn't just about immigration crossing borders, right?
Exactly. It goes way beyond that. The administration is pushing forward with a plan to deport millions of undocumented immigrants, and it's backed by executive orders, expanded ICE authority, and fresh funding directives.
Yep, that's right. And, this whole approach is positioned as a move to restore law and order and, protect American jobs.
But dig a little deeper and you'll see that it's a whole national operation. It's not just at the border. It's like happening in homes, workplaces, and even schools.
Right. That interior enforcement really shifts the picture, turning local communities into frontline centers for these raids.
Absolutely. And here's something noteworthy. The strategy leans heavily on Section 287G, which deputizes local law enforcement as immigration officers, blurring the lines between federal immigration enforcement and everyday policing.
And that kind of blurring really worries civil liberties groups. People become apprehensive about calling on the police, which undermines community trust.
Yeah, and that's a huge red flag. Imagine folks no longer reporting crimes because they're scared that a routine call might lead to immigration checks.
Exactly, it's like, oh man, the collateral damage could be enormous.
Speaking of collateral, let's talk costs. According to a 2017 report by the American Action Forum, removing all undocumented immigrants would have cost between $400 and $600 billion and taken about 20 years.
Right.
And in today's context, costs could easily be even higher.
Wow, that's staggering. And then there's the question of funding all the extra detention centers, legal battles, and even transportation costs.
Exactly. The operation is not only politically charged, but also, economically draining. And let's not forget the sectors that depend on immigrant labor.
Yeah, especially in agriculture, construction, elder care, and food service. Removing millions of workers could seriously disrupt these industries.
Exactly. It's like, pulling out a key support beam from an already shaky structure. Local industries like California's Central Valley farms or Florida's citrus groves are raising red flags about labor shortages.
Right. And that might even send food prices up and cause supply chain issues, which could ultimately hurt, well, all of us.
And then there's the heartbreaking side of it all, the humanitarian impact. Over 4.9 million U.S. citizen children are living with at least one undocumented parent.
Yep.
These deportations tear apart families and inflict severe trauma.
It's really, tragic, isn't it? Parents being taken away and children left in foster care or with relatives. It makes you shake your head.
Exactly. And the due process issues are just as concerning. With over 2 million cases in the immigration court system backlog, many immigrants are detained for months without proper legal representation.
Seriously, that backlog itself raises questions about fairness and efficiency in the system.
Right. And that's when experts start proposing alternatives. Instead of this mass sweep, many are suggesting more humane and economically sound approaches.
Like pathways to legalization and programs similar to DACA, which could allow long-term residents to step out of the shadows.
Yeah, exactly. It's like giving people the opportunity to pay taxes, work, contribute to society, all while addressing legal concerns, This strategy could modernize the whole immigration process.
And there's also talk of work permits and guest worker programs. It's a sensible way to fill labor shortages without causing all these disruptions.
Right. Targeted enforcement is another angle, focusing on violent criminals rather than conducting a broad brush removal that affects peaceful people.
But don't you think that, some argue that the aggressive approach is necessary for national sovereignty?
Sure, some do argue that, saying it's all about restoring order. However, critics point out it can be, more about reshaping the electorate or igniting nativist sentiments. It seems like a political maneuver in many ways.
I get that. But here's a respectful challenge. Isn't it a bit oversimplified to say that mass removal is just a disguised political tactic? There's a strong argument about maintaining national sovereignty and public safety in there, too.
That's a fair point. I mean, while public safety is genuinely important, the economic and social cost here can't be ignored. It's like, balancing on a tightrope between national security and ethical governance.
Exactly. And the potential disruption to industries that rely on immigrant labor really makes you think deeply about the long-term impacts.
Mm-hmm. And border state governors are already sounding the alarm. They warn that this high-octane strategy might create, severe economic instability.
Right. And polls indicate that a majority of Americans, regardless of party lines, are more in favor of a measured approach, legalization options, especially for those with U.S. citizen children.
Yeah. It's interesting how public sentiment can really cut across ideological lines. It's about realism, economics, and the basic decency of keeping families intact.
Indeed. And isn't that the crux of the matter? Policy shouldn't just be about strict law enforcement. It has to consider the human factor.
Exactly. It's about policy, but also about people. The approach needs to balance rigorous enforcement with, economic realities and human compassion.
For sure. And while the Trump administration is committed to a hardline stance, many argue that a smarter, more sustainable system is needed to avoid deep societal and economic scars.
Right, and if we look at the bigger picture, these enforcement measures might just end up proving counterproductive by causing labor shortages, skyrocketing costs, and fracturing communities further. Which brings us back to why targeted, reformative measures could be the best path forward.
Yeah, and historically, immigration reforms that incorporate pathways to legalization and enhanced legal processing tend to not only stabilize the labor market, but also strengthen community trust.
Yes, exactly. It's like adjusting a dial instead of, flipping a monstrous switch that disrupts everything. Less chaos and more constructive, humane solutions.
I like that analogy. A dial instead of a switch. It highlights the need for calibrated, thoughtful policy rather than blunt, one-size-fits-all measures.
And this is why the debate is so charged. On one side, you have a hardline enforcement agenda, and on the other, a call for reforms that reflect modern realities and basic humanity.
Absolutely. It's a pivotal moment. The choices made now could reshape American communities for decades, balancing economic stability, national security, and the well-being of millions of families.
Right, and that's what makes this so critical. The policy isn't isolated. It intersects with ethics, economics, and even electoral dynamics. All these pieces need to be considered.
And it challenges us all to rethink our values and priorities. Are we willing to pay a high economic and social price for a strict enforcement policy?
Exactly. It's like, a crossroads where one must decide whether to double down on a divisive strategy or adopt smarter, more balanced reforms. The future here is more than just enforcement. It's about reimagining how we deal with immigration in a compassionate, effective way. That's a powerful way to put it.
Yeah, no doubt about it. The conversation around mass deportation strategies really forces us to examine what our national identity should be in terms of both law and human decency.
Right. And as we move forward, it's essential to stay informed, question the decisions made by policymakers, and advocate for solutions that bridge enforcement with empathy.
Couldn't agree more. Discussions like these are vital if we want to see a future that balances security, economic vitality, and the dignity of every individual.
Exactly. So thanks for this fascinating exchange. There's so much more to unpack, but it's clear that the implications of this strategy confront us with immeasurable dilemmas that will shape policies for years to come.
Absolutely. And we'll definitely be keeping an eye on how these debates evolve. Thanks for the insightful chat.